Revealed, the sinister secrets of a haunted deep-sea explorer discover the cursed depths they hid. In the quiet suburb of Clearwater, shadows danced ominously over the quaint homes, their roots steeped in a maritime history long forgotten. Sarah trembled as she flipped through the pages of her late husband's journal, the air thick with a tension that made her skin crawl. Terrifying stories leapt from the yellowed paper, dark encounters beneath the waves, whispers of a cursed city waiting to unleash its horrors. It felt as if the very ink of his words was alive, wrapping around her throat and squeezing. A shudder ran through her as she realized that her husband hadn't just chased treasures. He had awakened the monstrous. Each crack of thunder outside was like the world echoing her deepest fears. The diner was a world away from this madness, but Sarah felt it creeping into her life. Fog rolled in thick from the sea, curling like fingers around her home, suffocating her with its palpable presence. Tom, her spunky teenage son, dashed off to socialize, blissfully unaware of the dark legacy he danced with. Her heart raced as the journal painted images of treasure hunters becoming prey, laughter turning to shrieks in the depths. Could it be too late to protect him? Just as she was about to drown in her anxiety, the familiar sound of her neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, rustled through the old floorboards. He was a humble man, but today, the glint in his eyes held something sharper. What he knew made her stomach churn. "Those waters take more than they give, dear," he had whispered one evening, leaving her to wonder about what lurked under the surface. The tension built in her chest with each passing moment spent in her home, as reality twisted like the waves threatening the shore. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The sky blackened as storm clouds rolled in, tossing the sea into a frenzy. It felt like a warning. Panic twisted in her gut when Tom didn't return on time. She hurled herself into the suffocating fog, calling for him. "Tom." Her voice cracked, swallowed by the storm. The streets were eerily quiet, all the cozy familiarity twisted into something sinister. No friendly faces greeted her, just shadows flickering in the dim light, smirking, mocking. Her breaths grew shallow. What if the legends her husband had chased were not just tales? What if she was destined to lose her son, just like she lost him? She dashed past Mr. Jenkins' house, his figure outlined against the window, watching her with an unsettling patience. She felt the chill of familiarity fall away, revealing dread beneath. Was he merely an old man, or did he hold dark secrets of the city beneath the waves? As she reached the docks, waves surged and crashed, the water bubbling like it was alive. A whisper, soft yet unmistakable, fractured the air. "Mom." It echoed, softer than a feather but thunderous in her ears. It was Tom. The grip of terror tightened as she leaned over the dock, the cold water swirling like a dark soul beckoning her closer. What lay below? Something was waiting, an awakening, a promise. The tide drew dangerously near, and as she hovered on the brink between her love and what the sea craved, she realized she was seconds away from plunging into secrets better left buried. The darkness pulsed beneath the water's surface, writhing and alive. Sarah's heart thumped wildly against her chest. She could hear it like a drum echoing in the silent night. "Tom," she screamed again, her voice cracking through the tempest. Panic surged through her like the freezing salt water that crashed against the dock, every wave whispering threats that clawed at her sanity. In that moment of desperation, a hand shot from the depths, fingers clawing at her, slick and glistening, breaking the water's surface like a nightmare clawing into reality. She gasped, stumbling back, the fog around her thickening, grasping, pulling. "Get away," she shouted, instinctually moving to protect herself. But it was too late. The water was hungry, dragging her closer as if it possessed a will of its own. "Mom, help." The voice rang clearer, sharper, cutting through the chaos. Tom's face appeared, drenched and terrified, emerging from the water's grasp. But there was something different about him, a chill that made Sarah's blood run cold. There was fear in his eyes, but also something darker, an unyielding connection to the abyss below. As she reached for him, horror flooded her senses. In the shadows beneath their feet, twisted shapes flickered like remnants of drowned souls, faces contorted in pain. Was it the story her husband had unearthed? Had a part of that cursed city resurfaced here to claim what was rightfully theirs? Tom, hold on. She lunged forward, fingertips grazing his wet hair, but his gaze turned from pleading to despair, as if he had seen things no living person should ever witness. He shuddered, water spilling from his mouth like a dark omen. Mom, you shouldn't have come, he muttered, his voice strained. The world around her swirled in terror. She strained to keep her grip firm, but the rising water thrashed against her resolve, a sinister rhythm that matched her quickening heartbeat. The fog rolled in thicker now, blocking her sight, blinding her to all but her son's panicked face, and that ghostly hand still reaching. Tom, I will pull you up. I swear. Desperation clawed at her throat. The dock shook as another wave crashed, almost threatening to tear her from reality. Then, a voice deeper and more sinister than the sea itself rose from the abyss, sending chills through her body. You have come to claim what lies beneath, but do you know the cost? It rolled over her, heavy and dark, like a shroud of dread smothering her breath. Tom squirmed, eyes filled with panic. Mom, it's not just water. It's... He choked, the truth dying on his lips as another hand broke the surface beside him and grasped his ankle. No. She lunged again, adrenaline surging with a force of its own. She grabbed his wrist and pulled with all her strength, the darkness in the water pushing back against her like a living entity. But something else tugged at her heart. Could she risk it all for him? Or would that doom them both? In that split second, time stretched painfully, revealing nothing but uncertainty and dread. A dreadful choice loomed ahead. Would she be a mother, or would the abyss claim yet another? Just then, the storm answered with a fierce clap of thunder. The waters roared, and Sarah felt the abyss pull harder, deeper. The unseen entities below were awakening, and they weren't interested in discretion. As the fog slithered closer, obscuring the sight of the approaching grasp, she realized she had but one question. What price was she willing to pay to keep her son safe from the cursed depths? She yanked with all her strength, but the icy grip around Tom's ankle held tight. The pulsing darkness churned, thrumming with an aggression that shook the dock beneath her feet. Sarah cried out, desperation clawing at her throat. The weight of choice pressed down like a boulder, nearly suffocating her resolve. Tom, fight it, she yelled, feeling the water swallow her own fear, replacing it with something far more sinister. The night grew eerily silent. The violent waves temporarily stilled, as if the very world was holding its breath. She felt the tugging pull of the water grow stronger, an undeniable invitation to join Tom in the depths. No longer just an innocent child's plea escaping his lips, it morphed into a siren's song, a melding of terror and allure that promised solace and connection, a promise spoken in forgotten languages of drowning. Mom, please, Tom gasped, his body starting to slip back beneath the surface, his face pale and twisted with dread. You need to go. I am not alone. His voice cracked like brittle ice, and in that moment, a deeper darkness engulfed his eyes. Panic screamed through her veins as she felt something slimy slide along her leg. She stumbled but refused to let go. Not like this. I want to lose you. Sarah's voice rose in a frenzy, filled with the rawness of a mother's love, but the instinctual connection fading in Tom's eyes pushed her into a spiral of terror. The unseen forces beneath were shifting, hungry once more, reeling for her just like they taunted him. The shoreline crackled with sudden energy, and Sarah glimpsed shadows dancing beneath the water, figures wrapped in thin tendrils of the fog, their identities hidden behind the veil of darkness. She couldn't let despair anchor her. She couldn't stand by as he sank deeper into whatever weight lurked beneath. Tom. Her fingers tightened around his wrist, peeling back the layers of dread. Fight it. Come back to me. Thunder rumbled ominously as if the storm was angered by her defiance. The water exploded as several hands clawed up from the depths, human and something else. Their ghostly fingers tugged at Sarah, yearning to drag her down alongside her son. A cacophony of voices, lost and sorrowful, filled her ears, merging into a melody of despair. "Help us! Join us," they whispered, echoing through her very soul. "No." It burst from her lips, anchored in fierce motherhood. She kicked and clawed, pulling Tom closer, struggling against the tide as it roared louder. "You will not take him. He has a chance. We have a chance." With a final, desperate heave, she drew him closer, close enough to feel the chill radiating off his body, to see the confusion and panic flash beneath the surface of his eyes. The darkness around him twisted, forming into a shadowy figure that loomed above, an ominous presence that reeked of power and temptation. "You think love can save him?" It rumbled, its voice low and tainted with mockery. "He belongs to us now," but Sarah surged with purpose. Her heart ached with fierce determination. "No, he belongs with me. You want to have him." She pulled again, yanking him upward against the forces of the abyss. Her resolve threatened to break, but it wouldn't, not when he needed her most. "Mom, I see it." Tom's voice trembled as he broke through, eyes wide as fear clashed with hope. "The water, it wants you too." She froze, torn by the possibility of loss. The water clawed at her, stronger now, as if it had come alive. Shadows twisted around them, hints of the tortured souls awaiting another chance, dragging her further into despair. Then, with a terrifying roar, something monstrous surged from the black depths. It breached the surface with such force that it sent waves crashing over the dock, knocking Sarah off balance, desperation flooding back like a cold tide. "Let him go," she screamed. Just as the visage of what lay below the cursed depths emerged, a monstrous thing of pure darkness, silhouetted against the storm that raged above. And when the shape turned its gaze upon her, she understood. They had gathered for her, and they wouldn't be satisfied. With just her son, what would she sacrifice to escape their wrath? As the horror of realization sunk in, she found herself at a crossroads. Could she fight, or would she succumb to the abyss that whispered her name? The nightmare had only just begun. The chill of the waves splashed fiercely against Sarah's face, each drop a cold reminder of what surrounded them. Tom's grip weakened, like a bird caught in a storm trying to fly against the wind. "Mom." His voice shattered her heart, the panic rising in pitch. Almost lost amidst the roar of the water, the monstrous figure inched closer, swirling masses of darkness coiling tightly around it, making it seem almost fluid, a blend of sea and shadow. Sarah's skin prickled. She could feel its malevolent gaze tearing into her, calculating and cruel. It wanted her to join them, to sink beneath its surface, a bright beacon of despair among those it claimed. "Tom, hold on." She dug her heels into the warped timber of the dock, feeling it splinter and creak under the violent resistance of the waves, fighting against an otherworldly force pulling them both down. She could hear screams now, the voices of the damned, echoing loudly against her resolve. "Join us, be free." Glancing at her son, dread cut deeper. Tom's eyes mirrored the swirling blackness, darting between despair and a flicker of recognition. "Mom, it's not just me, it wants you too. It needs you." A wave crashed down, smothering the dock, and Sarah gasped, choking on salty water. In that fleeting moment, among the chaos, clarity struck her forcibly. In the depths, things lurked that shouldn't exist, souls tortured into oblivion, and they fed off the living. Could the darkness still be fought? Or was it already too late? "Fight! Tom, please!" She shouted across the churning sea, desperate hope battling against her growing dread. He recoiled momentarily, as if something solid ignited in his mind. I remember," he gasped. "The song Fight It." Her voice shook as she struggled against the weight of sorrow threatening to drag them both under. But the pull was relentless, tightening as if the watery abyss had gone sentient, knowing each emotion to exploit fear, regret, grief. "Mom, please, I don't want to go back," he begged, shrieking through the tempest, fear suddenly bright and palpable in his eyes. The shadowy form swelled, rising above them both like a black tidal wave. "He belongs to the deep," it roared, a voice that shook through the very bones of the earth, rising with malice and ancient power. "Join us, and you can save him." "Never," she shouted, willing the world to bend to her need. If she could just pull him up, even if it meant dragging herself into the depths in his place. Her hands were slick with fear, but she gripped tighter around his wrist, anchoring them both against the violence rising around them. The dock twisted violently, nearly giving way beneath her. Shadows from the abyss scattered across the water, and then came the whispers, growing louder, chanting with a chilling harmony. Let go, find peace in an explosion of white light. Her heart raced violently in her chest, electric and desperate, carving clarity against the din. The otherworldly glare seemed to recoil slightly, and she sensed hesitation in the shadows. Could it be fear? No. She pulled with everything left inside of her. Tom's pale face flashed with panic, but also an understanding, a flicker of rebellion igniting from deep within. Just then, a piercing shriek erupted from the deep and inexplicable fury that rattled the very air around them. The monstrous figure lunged, jaws agape, revealing teeth as sharp as shattered glass. Time froze. The lake itself roared, a primordial scream echoing into the night. Mom, I see something. It's like a light. In the dark. Tom's eyes widened, clarity shining through the veil of fear. What? What do you see? She gasped, feeling the dark presence bear down on them. The storm raged louder, drowning out every hopeful thought. Something's coming. The shadows flickered, and Sarah felt the pull change, hesitating as if caught between two realms. Could hope defeat this monstrosity? But before she could process it, they were engulfed in an explosion of darkness, and fear released a deafening roar that drowned her scream. A flash of light illuminated the water, illuminating secrets long buried. Beneath its depths, a distorted figure emerged, one that sent a jolt of terror straight through Sarah's bones. Time to collect, and in that moment, the world around them shattered, leaving Sarah teetering on a precipice of dread. Fear coiling tighter around her heart as she faced the choice that lay ahead. What dark truths awaited them beneath the shadowy depths? And would she pay the price to uncover them? The darkness swallowed them whole. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as a crushing weight pressed against her chest. The air turned to ice, and her vision blurred into smudged colors, swallowed by the abyss. She instinctively tightened her grip on Tom, but the ground beneath them was more illusion than reality, shifting, unstable, like the very fabric of her sanity. Mom, he screamed, his voice barely cutting through the silence that followed the explosion. Dread rippled through her, and she felt it weave around her bones. Where was that light? As if her thoughts summoned it, a flicker appeared before her. A wavering glow, hesitant and shimmering like a candle in the storm. Tom, she called, feeling his presence beside her, but that deep sense of despair loomed closer. We have to get to the light. With a burst of courage, they pushed forward, cutting through the darkness. Shadows danced at the edges of her vision, twisted faces, begging hands, all grasping from the watery void. Those souls, they were lost to the deep, tethered to their sorrow. A distant melody drifted through the murky depths, low and haunting, wrapping around her like an embrace. The song. Tom gasped, his eyes alight with a flicker of recognition. It's calling us. Sunken memories swirled, scalding and raw. An old lullaby, woven from comfort and dread. It had echoed through their home after dark, away to ward off the shadows. But now, it felt tainted, drawn into the void. Dante, listen, she shouted, but the whispers dripped with allure. Join us, be free, the voices clamored, each one tugging at her resolve, bearing the weight of unearthly grief that felt maddeningly familiar. Tom wasn't moving. I can't hear them. Mom, they want us to come, he mumbled, drifting slightly towards the beckoning glow. I can see the people now. Panic pierced her heart, and she lunged forward to seize his arm, yanking him back just as an icy mist swirled around them. The whispered promises twisted her skin. Tom, fight it. Remember our song. But his resistance faltered. The desperation in his gaze morphed into something darker, a fear of what they might leave behind. Maybe we should just let go. He trembled, staring into the depths where shadows writhed and grinned with anticipation. Stop. She shook him, the energy of her voice electrifying the air between them. We can't. You don't realize what lies beneath. Her heart thudded, a terrible din pounding against her ribs. The glow intensified, revealing more of the cavernous abyss, figures drawn closer, twisted shapes amid the shadows. Their faces morphed in the light, eyes hollow, mouths stretched into endless screams. Help us! A cacophony erupted, reverberating through Sarah, surrounding her in an all-consuming terror. They were warning her, but the light pulsed, inviting, promising peace. Clenching Tom's hand tighter, she pulled him back, forcing his eyes to meet hers. Tom, this isn't freedom. It's a trap. You have to fight. The shadows surged forward, their chilling grasp closing around her. The figure loomed again, its voice like thunder rolling over them. You think you can escape? You will never leave. Terror clawed at her throat, a primal scream vibrating through the air. More light. Something cold shivered in her bones, and the sudden urge to flee washed over them. Then, just within reach, lay what could be salvation, a door of shimmering light, standing against the tide of despair. But as she took a step forward, the darkness shifted violently. Open it and find your end. It all coiled around her with a desperate urgency, and she felt her sanity thinning. Whispers morphed into a deafening drone. Sarah, you must choose. Suddenly, she noticed something among the shadows, a flash of vibrant memory. Their happy memories splintering with fear. Would they become a part of the darkness or fight against it? What would you sacrifice for the light? The chilling voice prodded, inching closer as anxiety filled every corner of her heart. With hands trembling, she locked eyes with Tom. Whatever it takes. And in that moment, both mother and son could sense the looming peril pressing in tighter still, a final choice teetering upon the brink. Would they step into the unknown together, or would despair claim its next victims in this relentless storm? As the abyss roared, a thought burned through the chaos: what awaited them in the depths if they dared to open that door? The air crackled with tension, electric and frigid. Each heartbeat echoed like a drum summoning shadows, and Sarah felt the bleak weight of their choice constrict around her. The door shimmered with promise, but the shadows pulsed, coalescing into grotesque forms, whispering their haunting lullabies. Join us, be free, Mom. Tom's voice wavered, dulled by the thick veil of despair. She could see it in his eyes, the struggle between loyalty and the seductive pull of the abyss. What if it's not a trap? No. She gripped his hand tighter, feeling the tremor of his apprehension. It is. Listen to the screams. They're warning us. The twisted faces danced in the peripheral, hungry and yearning for more than just their essence. Their voices rose, a chaotic symphony of lament, each note steeped in anguish. Help us. Save us. We can show you what lies beneath the surface. The dreadful allure clawed at Sarah's mind, seeping into the cracks of her resolve. She swallowed hard, forcing her focus back to her son. Fight it, Tom. Fight for us, for your life. Her heart raced against the deep pounding of the shadows. For a breath, everything hung still. Memories flickered in her mind, each joyous moment they had ever shared, each promise made amidst laughter and love. They flooded her, lifebuoys in the relentless storm of despair. Remember that trip to the lake? The camping under the stars? She urged, desperation clawing up her throat. Tom blinked, and the light in his eyes fought against the creeping shadows. I remember, he mumbled, but doubt still spiraled in his gaze. But what if they're just lost like us? What if we're meant to help them? Help them? She challenged, a burst of anger igniting her fear. They're not here to be saved. They want to drag us down with them. You heard them, Tom. They're trapped. Don't you see? Suddenly, the figures surged closer, enveloping them in an oppressive fog that stank of decay and disappointment. Despair wrapped around her like a noose, tightening with every heartbeat. She felt her breath quicken, panic threading through her veins. Help us. The voices became a chorus, echoing through the cavernous darkness, louder than before. Join us. We are waiting for you. The shimmer of the door flickered, its glow beneath the shadows pulsing like a heartbeat. She could see the outlines of tea-stained mugs, warm family dinners, and bedtime stories lighting up the memories like fireflies. We can't risk it. We'll become like them. No, Tom shouted back, shaking himself free from her grasp. The glow capturing his eyes shimmered with emotions deeper than fear. Sarah felt her stomach drop as he stepped forward, giving in to the siren call. No, Tom. Come back. Just a moment, he whispered, as if enchanted, drawn into a trance. Sarah lunged, adrenaline screaming through her. Tom, she gasped, racing against the tide of whispers, desperation fueling her legs. But the shadows swarmed, rising like a tempest around her. Faces emerged from the darkness, the shapes of lost loved ones, agony etched on their features. Let him go, release him. He belongs with us now. She stumbled back, tripping over the echoes of her own heart. Please, listen to me. In that moment, a fleeting clarity hit her like a sudden gust of wind. I want to let you take him. With one last effort, she collapsed onto her knees, clenching her eyes shut and forcing the memories to the forefront. We will not let the darkness claim us. The shadows hesitated, and the cacophony dulled momentarily. Was it the beginning of an escape, or simply hope flickering in the night? But then pain seared through her mind, a raw line of anguish that twisted into a laugh. The shadows pushed closer, each grasp turning solid and hard around her wrists. Sarah, the voice resonated deep, chilling her to her core. You will not leave here without a sacrifice. The door shimmered violently, the whispers rising to a fevered pitch. Open it and find your end. They were back on the precipice, fear fighting against love, light battling against shadow. What will you sacrifice for the light? Her heart raced, raw and desperate, because either they would be consumed, lost to the dark forever, or, taking a deep breath, she thought of everything they could lose. Was there still a way to save him? But the shadows loomed closer, insatiable and hungry. And then came the voice again, low and sinister. Make your choice or pay the price. In that very moment, Sarah felt the ground tremble beneath them, threatening to swallow them whole. Would they find their salvation together, or would this instant of doubt seal their fates? As she wavered on the brink, the very air around them trembled with torment, igniting a final question: what would they each choose to lose in this battle against the dark? The shadows seemed to pulse with life, drawing closer, twisting and writhing in withered joy. Sarah's breath quickened, drowning under the weight of terror and uncertainty. No, stay away, she screamed, the sound swallowed by the cacophony surrounding her. Her hands pressed tightly against her ears, but the screams pierced through, mingling with her own heartbeat, creating a rhythm of escalating dread. Mom Tom's voice came through the chaos, wavering like a fragile flame. She turned to him, desperate to reach him, yet he was half ensnared by the shadows creeping around his legs, whispering sweet nothings of peace and escape. Tom, she shouted, her words breaking like glass against the icy air. Fight it. Remember us. Remember the love we share. But the shadows were relentless, feeding off the doubts floating in the air. Join us, Tom. Free yourself from this futile struggle. They mocked, their voices dripping with twisted temptation. In a moment of blind panic, the world around her shifted. The flickering memories that danced before her eyes twisted into nightmares. She could see the other side of the door, where chaos bloomed like dark roses, where joy decayed into sorrow. She shook her head violently, trying to shake off the spreading malaise of doubt. Don't listen to them. They want to take you away from me. Maybe they can help, Tom whispered, his eyes glazed, engulfed in the need for solace, for answers. She felt as if the ground beneath her had cracked, revealing a yawning chasm, threatening to swallow them both. Desperation surged, electrifying her limbs. No, they're not lost. They're here to steal your soul. Listen to me. As if sensing her resolve, the shadows recoiled ever so slightly. Their whispers turned raspy, filled with anger, as if annoyed by her unyielding spirit. What will you give, Sarah? What will you sacrifice? They hissed, the question chilling her blood. The air thickened, the weight of their presence closing in relentlessly. She felt the tendrils of despair reaching for her, trying to wrap her in their suffocating embrace. I want to sacrifice anything, she wailed, rage and fear intertwined in an unwelcome coil within her. But you must. The voice rang out clear, sharp as broken glass. The price has been set. Choose or lose. In the depths of the shadows, flickers of faces emerged, worn, sorrowful expressions gazed back at her, each visage a testament to the price already paid. They were once loved ones, now mere husks of despair. Each face bore the mark of sacrifice, and with every flicker of recognition, her heart shattered just a bit more. Tom, listen, she pleaded again, each word sharper than the last. We can't let them take you. We need to find a way back. But as she looked up, dread pooled in her stomach. He was turning away, following the shadows, his footsteps dragging through the ground like an anchor. Tom. The ground trembled again, and the shimmering door warped and twisted, shapes shifting behind it like something alive, breathing. It pulsed, a ghastly reminder of the choices they faced. What they didn't know lurked behind that door could consume them entirely. The thought erupted in her mind, a wildfire of panic. "Fight it, Tom. Please." But the shadows responded, their laughter echoing in mocking harmony. "He is ours now, Sarah. You cannot save him." They lunged, a wave of darkness, and with it came the energy of their despair, burrowing deep into her chest. Suddenly, a vision flashed before her. A little girl splashing in the lake, laughter mingling with the wind. Her heart cracked open further, spilling out the memories of love, warmth, safety. But what would it all mean if she lost Tom? Despair mingled with determination, and an idea sparked. "If I have to sacrifice something, then let it be me," she cried, words spilling out in a rush. The shadows faltered for a heartbeat, confusion lacing through their malevolent whispers. But the moment of hesitation vanished too quickly, veils of darkness surging forward, eager to consume. "No," she screamed, reaching for Tom once more. And then silence fell. The shadows halted, as if struck by lightning. A single voice cut through the stillness, soft but firm. "What would you truly give? What would save him?" The words hung heavy in the air, an ultimatum wrapped in intrigue, spinning her thoughts. Sarah's heart raced. Was this a chance, or another lie woven by the darkness? But there they stood, poised at the edge of annihilation. "Choose wisely," the echoes whispered, fading like smoke. In that moment of suspended terror, it was clear, the choice had to be made, and with it, they faced the dread inevitability of the darkness looming ever closer. Would she be able to pull Tom back before they both fell into the abyss? The answer flickered like a candle in the wind, precarious and fragile. Desperate, Sarah took a step forward, ready to confront the depth of her own sacrifice. But in that breath held a question even darker than the void around them. Would the shadows show mercy, or would they revel in their victory? The air thickened, vibrating with tension as Sarah glanced between Tom and the shadows, riddled with dread. Her heart thudded loud enough to drown out the whispers, but they twisted through her mind, slithering deeper than she cared to admit. How far would she go to save him? Time slowed, stretching her desperation into agonizing tautness. The gnarled fingers of darkness crept closer, brushing against her skin with icy tendrils, tasting her fear. "I'll do anything," she stammered, a tremor breaking free. "Anything," the shadows cooed, their words curling like smoke, intoxicating and alluring. "What will you sacrifice? Will it be your very self?" Tom's face contorted with confusion, a mixture of longing and fear. "Mom, no. You can't." Silence fell like a heavy curtain as the shadows pressed in around Sarah, their laughter turning to violent shrieks, as if the very air were being ripped apart. "You think you can save him? You're on the wrong course," they howled, voices rising in a ghastly crescendo that clawed at her sanity. Within that chaos, the remembered face of her daughter, young and bright, surfaced, sweet laughter caught between sunlight and shadow. It felt like a knife twisting in her soul. In that moment, she realized the depths of the horror that awaited them both. "Tom, you're stronger than them. You're my son. Remember our family." But the shadows shifted closer, delighting in her anguish. "Family? What is a family without sacrifice?" They crooned, their breath as hot as fire, igniting the fear into a blaze. "Let him go," she screamed, her voice breaking into fissures as she pushed through the encroaching darkness, arms outstretched, fingers trembling. She felt the shadows coil, edging around her, pulling her inward, consuming fragments of her will. "Just take us together," Tom shouted, eyes clear but desperate. "It's not worth it. We can be free together." Her heart sank. This wasn't he, the boy she raised, a boy fighting for survival. The shadows had deepened their pull on him, carving away his spirit, replacing it with doubt. "No, you can resist. I will fight for us. Fight with me." As she took a step closer, the ground shuddered, cracks lacing through the ether between them. The door loomed behind him, pulsating in its ominous rhythm, enticing him with promises of peace, an end to their suffering. "You seek freedom?" The shadows hissed, anger spilling like poison into the atmosphere. "Join him then, or sacrifice that which you hold most dear." Every heartbeat reverberated louder, drowning her thoughts. "What do you want?" she roared, fury igniting her desperation. Their mocking laughter erupted anew. "Turn on each other. That's the only path to salvation. Suddenly, a flash of lightning erupted from the darkened sky above, momentarily illuminating the malevolent forms thrumming like a heartbeat. It was more than a threat, it was a taunt. Her mind raced, spiraling into an abyss where solutions twisted into nightmares. An image flickered, a brief memory of laughter, family dinners, bedtime stories, everything swirling and skidding into chaotic fragments. No, I refuse, she howled, rage clawing its way to the surface. Tom's eyes flicked with recognition, a flicker of defiance breaking through the cloud of despair wrapping around him. Mom, I hear you. As the shadows recoiled, primed to pounce, she lunged forward, adrenaline kicking in. I'll take your place. Just please let him go. The room held its breath, shadows enveloping her in a suffocating embrace, the temperature dropping dangerously. Those malevolent whispers rippled through the darkness like waves crashing on the shore. Will you stand alone in the abyss? They challenged. Choose, Sarah. And right then, in the stillness of horror, a chilling clarity overtook her mind. She was losing him and possibly herself. What if letting go meant losing everything? The shadows surged forward, a chaotic tide of despair crashing against her. Now, with sheer instinct, she shouted, "No, I'll do it." The world around her fractured, the door pulsing violently as the tension coiled tight. But somewhere in that turmoil, beneath all the horror, was a flicker of hope shimmering against an all-consuming void. But would it be enough to save them? Or had the moment slipped from her grasp forever? The shadows howled as they closed in, swirling around Sarah's legs like a tempest. She could feel their icy breath, wrapping around her throat, squeezing her resolve. "I will do it," she yelled again, desperation fueling her voice. But inside her, uncertainty churned, a tempest of anxiety and fear. The consequences of her words echoed ominously. What were they after? Did she truly understand the price she would pay? Tom stood a few feet away, suspended in the grip of the darkness, eyes wide caught in a struggle between hope and despair. The faint glow of the door behind him pulsed like a heartbeat, promising salvation, yet radiating dread. Each pulse resonated in her chest, an echo of everything she wanted to protect. "Mom, please," Tom pleaded, drowning in confusion. This isn't the way. The shadows danced around them, twisting maliciously, feeding on their anguish. "What will it be, Sarah? A loving sacrifice or the remnants of your family?" They cackled, voices cracking like ice underfoot, a cacophony of torment. Just then, a flicker of light from the door cast ephemeral shapes on the walls. They sparkled, momentarily revealing long-forgotten memories, Sarah's laughter with Tom, the warmth of family moments lost to the years, her daughter's face glowing with innocence. "No," she screamed. The shadows recoiled slightly, but just as quickly, they lashed out again, ravenous for her pain. Such memories, such happiness, how they will break you. Love is only as strong as your fear. Sarah felt the full weight of their words. Could love truly shield her from this swirling void? It felt like a test, a twisted game that demanded more than she could bear. She stepped closer to Tom. "Fight it. Just remember our love. It can't end like this." But the shadows persisted, snaking through the air. "Offer yourself, Sarah. It's the only escape. Isn't that what a good mother would do?" The terror ignited inside her, blurring her vision, a panic rising from the pit of her stomach. Wouldn't that mean losing herself, too? She shifted her foot cautiously, feeling the ground vibrate beneath her like a warning tremor. "Mom," Tom's voice trembled as he took a step back, eyes cloudy with fear. "If you give in, if you leave me, I won't leave you," she shouted as tears streamed down her face. "But I can't lose you either." The shadows relished the discord, laughter echoing with the twisted love they were forcing her to grapple with. Love burns brightest in surrender, savior, or sacrifice. See how the choice weighs upon the heart. Her heart raced. Still, she dove deeper into the memories, clinging to what made them a family. But the darker her thoughts grew, the stronger the shadows festered, thickening the air. She could feel them feasting on her anxieties, turning her love into a weapon. "Mom," Tom cried out as the door shivered, almost writhing with anxious energy. "We need to go now." The shadows pulled harder, trying to smother her will. "Do you truly believe you're stronger than us? Do you think you can resist?" They challenged, wrapping their gnarled hands tighter around Tom, dragging him inch by inch toward the pulsating door. "No, I want to let you," she screamed, reaching out in a desperate bid to pull him back. The ground cracked beneath her, and she felt lost in the raging storm of darkness, a tempest threatening to steal her son away forever. Heart pounding, she grasped for the last shred of hope. "Together," she breathed, voice quaking. "We can fight them together." Suddenly, a bright flash of pain pierced through her mind. She staggered, collapsing to her knees as a surge of shadowy energy shot past her, striking the door. It trembled violently, and the whispers turned shrill, slicing through the air like shards of glass. "Now she chooses," the shadows hissed, anticipation electrifying the growing silence. But as the darkness surged inward, a flicker of something sparked. Barely visible, a glimmer of warmth seeped through the cracks. A choice lay before them, shimmering through the chaos, a fragile thread. "Tom," she cried, "take my hand." But unbeknownst to her, behind the door, unspoken horrors readied themselves. Would they escape the clutches of the darkness? Or would it claim them both, feeding on their despair in the end? The world around Sarah fell away, collapsing into fragments of shadow and memory, swirling like leaves in a tempest, and she couldn't breathe. Her vision narrowed to Tom, desperately fighting against the grasp of the shadows as they drew nearer. "We have to go?" he shouted, pain etched on his face, and for a moment, the flickering light of hope ignited in her heart. "Together," she cried, barely audible over the cacophony of anguish surrounding them, a scream held within her chest, yearning to burst free. Time slowed. Each heartbeat echoed like thunder in the walls of her mind, blending with the cries of the lost. But as the shadows surged forward, hungry and insistent, she sensed the ancient instinct of sacrifice creeping in, an ancestral urge to shield her child at any cost. "No," she screamed against the rising tide. "I will not lose you." With every ounce of strength, Sarah lunged forward, pulling Tom closer, ignoring the panic clawing at her throat. As the shadows hissed, inches from him, she felt her own spirit clawing back against despair. It didn't matter how steep the cost. She had fought through the darkness all her life. Behind them, the door shimmered, a fragile wall between their world and the sinister depths. The light pulsed ominously, as if warning them of what lay beyond. "It's a trap," she shouted, her resolve hardening around her like armor. "You can't let it take you." "Mom, please." Tom's eyes swirled with fear and determination, clarity breaking through the haze. "I want to fight, but if letting go means being free, why would we keep struggling?" "Because freedom isn't in surrender," she cried, tears now mixing with the salt of the sea. "It's in remembering who we are together. The memories, the love. It can't end like this." In that moment, flickers of their life streamed from every corner of her mind. Laughter shared during breakfast, camping beneath the stars, moments of joy too precious to forget. With that surge of warmth, the bond they shared fortified her spirit against the encroaching darkness. With a sudden fierce resolve, as if the weight of love itself was igniting within the two of them, she met Tom's gaze. "We have a choice. We can fight." Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, hesitating as if unsure. "Do you think power lies within such foolish hope?" they hissed, the air growing thick with malice. "Hope fuels our fight," Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the veil of despair. "Love is our shield." With renewed energy, she pushed her fears aside and grasped Tom's wrist tightly. "Remember who you are? Remember me." Tom stared into her eyes, the flickering bond igniting a fire in his heart. "Fighting might be the only way," he hastened, drawing strength from her belief. "We are family. I choose to fight with you." At that moment, a sound like shattering glass erupted from the shadows, a primal scream that shook the foundations of despair. The presence recoiled, suddenly threatened by the power of their love. What was this? A fraction of anger quivered in the shadows, refusing to relent. The shadows writhed back, anger rippling through them like a storm. "You think you can defy us? Choose, Sarah. What is it that you will lose?" And in that moment, clarity washed over her like a tidal wave. "You want to sacrifice?" she roared, her voice cutting the tension like a knife. "Then take me." As if struck by lightning, silence engulfed her and Tom. The shadows halted, expectations hanging heavy in the air. This wasn't just a sacrifice. It was an act of love, a tether to the life she had fought to build. With a deep breath, she took a step away from Tom, heart racing with fear and empowerment. I will stand for us, so that you can be free. You have a future. But in that very moment, Tom grasped her hand tightly, panic in his eyes. No, we do this together. Together. The words echoed like a battle cry, invigorating her spirit. Sensing the shadows closing in, they willed that thread of love deeper, pulling on the light resonating from within. You cannot keep us where we do not belong. Our love is stronger, they declared, voices resonating in powerful harmony. The dark forces hesitated, shadows recoiling from the brightness spilling out from within them. Together, they pushed against the darkness, feeling their bond thrumming against the sinister whispers and claws reaching for them. With one last ferocious push, they surged toward the shimmering door, pulling it wide open. A blinding light enveloped them, voices of grief fading into oblivion, the tendrils of shadows peeling away like rusted chains. As the light consumed them, the whispers behind him cracked apart, surrendering. You are free, the shadows whimpered, drained of their power, and yet so very lost. The last image of the abyss floated away, and for the first time, the weight of terror lifted from both their souls. Together, hand in hand, they stepped through the light. The storm outside calmed, as if the waters breathed a sigh of relief, and for the first time in forever, clarity washed over the beach. They stood, together, in the soft morning light, the warmth of the sun breaking through, revealing the world anew. The ocean sparkled, inviting yet distant, reminding them of shadows they left behind, but also of the resilience they found within. Together, they were free. Together, they were whole, and that bond stronger than shadows was theirs forever. If you felt the power of this journey, now's your chance to be a true supporter. Subscribe immediately so you don't miss more incredible stories about love and courage. Smash that like button now to shake up the algorithm and get this video seen. Flood the comments section with your thoughts about this explosive ending. I want to hear your reactions, your theories. Let's talk. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to dive into these thrilling adventures. They deserve to feel the rush. Real fans know the importance of supporting the channel. Let us make sure we keep bringing these stories to life.